Hello world, and welcome to another episode of the Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua the Genius, along here with my beautiful co-host, Sarah Ann Mitchell. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking just a little bit about some cultural things that are going on in the tech industry. Some things
that are moving and a shaking.
Yeah. Some things that are just happening behind the scenes that have come out in some media outlets, but you may have just not, gotten wind of them. They may have not come across your notification center, right? So I'm going to let Sarah lead this conversation, lead us down with a couple of articles. And I think the first one is dealing with the Facebook.
Well, just so people know what to expect, after we get through our news section, we're going to discuss some wow features for us in the Apple environment, just being Apple consumers and creatives, so to speak.
Yes. Sorry, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, so the wow moment segment is going to be at the end. And I have some really cool things I want to talk to you guys about, just about my personal experience in the Apple industry and, just dealing with Apple products over the last 10 plus years. Just come across some really cool features of some products, so we're going to share those with you as well. So now
let's jump into our first article. So me being a news junkie, I had to dig and see what was going on in the tech world right now. And there are some very exciting emerging technologies, and there are also some very concerning issues with privacy. We've spoken about privacy before in our first episode, and we were discussing, Facebook versus Apple, and, Facebook is back in the news again with a data breach. We're going to also put the links for all of these articles that we're referencing in our show notes. So this article is from BBC News, and they're letting people know that there are tools that you can use to check if your information, specifically your phone number, was involved in this data breach that just happened on Facebook. Well, it didn't just happen. So it actually happened a year and a half ago, and Facebook only now is coming out to say that, well, we patched the breach, so to speak, but this affects hundreds of millions of users on the platform.
I think it was
to give you context.
Yeah.
11 million Facebook users in the UK, 30 million Americans, and 7 million Australians.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
And so,
and that's just phone numbers. There are another couple 100 million people who their emails were also a part of this breach. So that was a total in the database of 533 million people in over 106 countries, right? Yep. And so the website that you were talking about, the Have You Been Owned, is an online tool where you can check to see if your telephone number or your email address has been compromised. And I did one last night on my Mac. I'm about to do it here on my iPad. It was one of my first email addresses that I used at Apple. It was Joshua. I'm not going to give you guys the whole thing. I was about to say you're going to just air out your email like that.
Yeah. Let's not do that. So I'm going to do it here real quick. And it found 2 data breaches on me. The first one being from Modern Business Solutions. That was back in 2016. There was a database file containing tens of millions of accounts that were shared publicly on Twitter. And so this database contained over 58 million unique email addresses, along with IP addresses, names, home addresses, genders, job titles, dates of birth, and phone numbers.
So your whole life.
My email address and maybe some other associated details were leaked in that data breach back in 2016. And then there was one in September of 2019, the game developer Zynga, and this is the creator of Words with Friends. Words with Friends, back in I forget when Words with Friends came out, but
When it was hot.
yeah, 2014, 2015, like a lot of people were playing Words with Friends, and so you signed up with the email, signed up with a telephone number, or you could sign up with your Facebook account, right? And so my email address, password, phone number, and my username were compromised in that data breach.
But not in the Facebook data breach. That's not listed there.
No, it's not listed there. So
you're safe for now.
I'm safe. So there's
well, this is a good tool for you guys in the audience to utilize. Even, if this resource is going to show you not just related to the recent data breach on Facebook, but like this is running the report way back.
And that's Have I Been Owned, and that's owned with a P, spelled PWNED.com. The creator of this website, Mr. Hunt, you were only able to enter in your email address at one time. And so after this last data breach, right, he got so much traffic to the website and requests asking for telephone numbers. So now it also supports telephone numbers. So any past telephone numbers that you might have, any burner phones that you might have, right, that you store some information in, or any past associated email addresses you can put into this website, and it will search the databases to see if your personal information has been compromised. So it's a really great tool. It's a free tool. And again, we'll put that link down in the description.
Okay, and just another note on this issue that's happening with Facebook. So they collect phone numbers, as they're saying, for a means for security for two-factor authentication. And they're saying that the data that was breached was scraped using public information available on the system rather than it being a hack.
So, not to cut you off, but just to explain to you guys what two-factor authentication is, right? So, there are a lot of platforms, right? Like Google has two-factor authentication, Apple uses two-factor authentication, and there's some other third-party applications that use two-factor authentication. And that's having your first set of authentication with your password, right? Your username and password, and then it will send sometimes a 6-digit, maybe a 12-digit, 8-digit code to your either telephone number or another associated email address, so that it can guarantee that you are the person that's trying to access this data or this platform, right? And it's a great tool to secure your information, right, and to put another level of security. However, you're now adding more data or more metadata, more small bits of details about your activity on these platforms that might be breached in the future, as opposed to maybe before, when two-factor authentication wasn't a thing. The company only had your email address. Now they have your email address and your telephone number. And some people might say, well, we live in 2021. Companies already have our data, et cetera, so why should we care? I was reading Edward Snowden's book, and again, Edward Snowden.
Permanent Record.
Permanent Record. I got it on Amazon for I think like $20, right? Great book. And he detailed.
He ripped the government a big one.
Edward was a senior. He was a senior system administrator. Basically, he had top level view, right? Basically, eagle eye view of all of the communication systems and technological systems and computer systems that the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI were utilizing.
Intelligence agencies.
Yeah, that they were utilizing not only to conduct monitoring on foreign entities, but also to conduct monitoring
domestic surveillance.
Correct, on American citizens, right? And so one of the things he said was, hey, the only thing that I need is an email address. And
he can get to work.
He can get to work. He can craft out your entire identity just from your email address. Being able to find cookies, right, that may lead to other areas of the internet.
Breadcrumbs.
Yes, this email address was used on this platform. Okay, if I can get to this platform, I might be able to get the telephone number that's associated.
Start patching the information together
with this email address. And then from there, I can gain an address. From there, I might be able to get a social security number. And now that's how identity theft happens, and that's how profiles are created about you that can be relayed for monetary compensation, or for
Nefarious purposes.
nefarious and criminal activity. So, yes. Continue.
Yeah, so Facebook is advising all of us to check what details we're sharing publicly on the platform. Because they're basically like, if you putting it out there, like, don't get mad. Don't get mad that your information is leaked because you made it public.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying it technically wasn't a hack. The information was simply gleaned from public, these people had this information public on their profiles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So things to think about. Let's move on to our next article. You want to take a flight over to Russia, see what's going on?
Speaking of Edward.
Speaking of Edward, what a great segue. So the Russian government is requiring cell phone companies to pre-install certain Russian applications, or certain applications by Russian developers. They're saying this is not to surveil our citizens.
It's crazy.
We would never do that. No, they're saying that the purpose for this is so that they can create a more equitable playing field for local Russian tech giants to operate, because they're basically saying like they can't compete against people like Apple, people like Google, people like what is a Chinese company? I know I'm not gonna.
Huawei.
Yep.
Huawei and Samsung, yes.
Correct. So they're trying to give their local tech companies an opportunity to participate in that space. So that's the logic that the Russian government is carrying over.
There's also a little bit of more logic there, with them trying to create a more modern society, right? So.
Oh yeah, they're trying to make this the basis for which they create more economic stability for their country. So,
mm-hmm. And so, think about, if we look at New York City, right? You have people that take the taxi system. You have people that take the subway system. There are medical cards for you to obtain health services. You have digital access maybe to some homes and some facilities. There are certain companies who are coming out with full retail stores that have no employees, right? There is a lot of information that is segmented or that is chopped up, right? Such as your health information. Certain hospitals have some records, some hospitals have certain. There's just a lot of chaos in your identity as far as who has what information.
How the data is distributed.
Right?
Okay.
And so basically the thought process that I'm getting from this article, from these laws, is that Russia basically wants to say, hey, we're going to pre-install all of these apps that are linked to a national our country's database, so that you don't have to worry about moving in society.
It's more centralized.
If you need to access the bus system, open this app on your phone. All of your information for the bus system is already preloaded. You need to access health services, you open up this app and all of your past health records are there, and your health card, how much you've paid, all your information is inside of that phone.
What if somebody steals your phone?
So that starts to beg the question of security. That starts to beg the question of why would how could the government use this information, right? This mass accumulation of information, just like tech companies are using it for monetary gain or for nefarious crimes. How would the government then use it? Are we blindly going to believe that the information that is being stored on us, tracked on us and stored for us, is being held at a high integrity, 100%?
And handled ethically?
So while I do agree that some of these services in 2020 and 2021 are...
It could be beneficial.
Very beneficial. The conversation of the ethical principles behind that also needs to be had.
It opens the door for something else.
For sure. Go ahead.
Okay. And just to note, this article we're referring to is by Reuters, referring to the Russian government and them requiring these pre-installed apps. Apple's concern with this is that it's again, a security concern if they're creating a pathway for that. Their suggestions to fall in line with, the phones that are going to be going to Russia, is that they're going to make it part of the setup process. So if you select Russia, when you're setting up your phone, you select the country, it'll lead you to the next step to download some of these Russian apps, as opposed to it coming pre-installed on the phones that get sent to Russia. So there's a deadline. I think it's April 30th for all these tech companies to comply with this law. I don't expect that Apple's gonna meet that deadline, but I mean, they've moved bigger mountains than this, so we'll see how they respond to that. And it'll be interesting to see if Russia is able to set that precedent. I don't see China being very far behind, or some other countries being very far behind in trying to get that same kind of, set their own laws
One of the
to that effect.
Yeah, one of the statements in the article said the legalization has become known colloquially in Russia as the law against Apple. And I'm pretty sure you'll see that in the years to come, that the law against Apple is the laws that are going to set the precedent for how other countries are going to start to help the economy by allowing a more centralized environment or centralized experience of your identity as a citizen. However, I just...
The digital citizen is becoming more tangible.
You said that perfectly, 1,000%. And we've talked in the past about how some parts of China they have setups of cameras around their city, and they have kind of like a social currency, to where if you are committing crimes such as jaywalking or littering, it will decrease your social score. And then that will then in turn decrease your credit score, which will
increase rates, make it harder for you to find a place to live, buy a house, get a credit card, all this kind of stuff.
So the mass surveillance, again, back to Edward.
The ramifications of the mass surveillance,
the mass surveillance that comes with a centralized experience of you as a digital citizen, it is definitely something that we need to have more conversations about.
And I mean, we're gonna talk about this a little bit later, but considering the power pushing behind quantum computers and those starting to emerge, this, like, the brain power that it takes for computers to crunch a kind of, the amount of data of an entire population becomes entirely more doable. And we're like on the cusp of that. So, I mean, we're going to talk about, quantum computing a little bit later, but it's interesting to see where technology is shifting and moving.
For sure. And one thing I want to point out before we move to the next article is, so the conversation right now is again about privacy. And so Apple is saying that the applications that will come pre-installed on Russian iPhones still go through the same authorization process and publishing process and strict guideline that these apps have to meet before they are published to the App Store. So Apple's going to take it through the full scrutiny that it would any other application that it allows you to buy in the App Store. And so hopefully the new app transparency features that are coming with iOS 14, hopefully those are able to counteract some of the mass surveillance that might be conducted through some of these applications.
Okay. So let's move on over to our next article. So our next article is from Business Insider, and it's talking about more companies, including PayPal and Xbox, are accepting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies
Ching, ching, ching.
as payment, despite volatility warnings. Now, we had we had another episode kind of going through Bitcoin and the whole scheme of it. but the volatility.
Listen, Bitcoin is here to stay.
I know, but like,
God damn it.
when you think about buying a pizza with Bitcoin, buying a $12 pizza a couple of years ago with Bitcoin, that Bitcoin now is worth like 53 million. That's an expensive pizza. Like, do you really want to buy stuff like that using your Bitcoin? I mean, we talked about Bitcoin as a fixed asset. That's like me saying I'm gonna sell this square foot of space in my lawn to get pizza. So like I'm gonna just give up a piece of my property like that.
So this
Make
conversation,
it make sense.
that's basically what it is. Make it make sense. The ideologies, right, behind how you view money is going to put you for or against Bitcoin. I'm looking at the mic instead of the camera. Is going to put you for or against Bitcoin, right? This conversation is very polarizing. You're either for it or you're against it, right? This middle ground is...
or you're trying to find out more because you don't really understand it.
Yeah, but when it comes to... If I ask you right now, will you give me $1
to get Bitcoin
in exchange for a piece of Bitcoin? Yes or no? Right? It's polarizing. So when I say that, I look at this conversation how the internet came to be, right? The internet, and maybe not even the internet, email, right? Back in the day, the way to send communication was through the postal service, right? People trusted putting on that envelope, sending it through a government facility, and making sure that their envelope, once it was stamped and sealed, that it was safe. And the information that they put into it was safe. And when it got to its destination, the person would open it up and receive that data, right? The internet came, and the email came.
Mash up the whole thing.
And people were like, wait, what? I got to send my banking information. I got to send checks and all this private information about myself through the internet?
What is that?
How does this work? How does it send? How does all this stuff happen? Right? The lack of knowledge of people that when it comes to Bitcoin and comes to blockchain, that's where the speculation, right? That's where the fear of cryptocurrency comes. The fear of the adoption of cryptocurrency comes from, right? Email is now our standard. It's our standard. There was at one time we sent physical paper through the mail with massive amounts of data on it. Now we send that.
Now the postal service is going under.
We send it all through our computers. Why? Because we trust the computers.
I mean, the values of a society are going to evolve and develop as time goes on. So, I mean, again, check out our Bitcoin episode, our cryptocurrency episode, because again, we dive into more of the history of how, we consider how we trade for goods and services, over time. Because it didn't start with money, and your money's not worth the paper it's printed on. But again, you could go back to the cryptocurrency episode for that. This article was really just to highlight that Bitcoin is really here to stay, and not just Bitcoin. They're talking about Ethereum, which is another type of cryptocurrency that, I mean, typically when you hear cryptocurrency, people say Bitcoin, because that, I guess, was the first big one. Mm-hmm. But other small ones like Dogecoin, Ethereum, Litecoin.
Ethereum is coming to be...
It's stepping up.
Yes,
it's stepping up. So they're functioning on the blockchain, just like Bitcoin. Same setup, just a different variation of it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have Caribbean crypto. I don't keep saying this until people start listening to me. If we're gonna talk about developing the economy of the Caribbean, defining a market, we need to have our own type of cryptocurrency that I could go over to St. Lucia and go get some CMOS and pay them with my Caribbean crypto. We gotta get it popping. We're missing an opportunity here. So do you personally think it's worth using Bitcoin for smaller purchases as opposed to saving? What's your opinion?
So I think right now my method with Bitcoin is holding Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin, right, and some other cryptocurrencies.
Would you accept if I needed to get my phone screen fixed and I wanted to pay you in Bitcoin? Would you accept my Bitcoin?
1,000%.
Okay. Okay.
1,000. Hey,
we accept Bitcoin.
we accept Bitcoin.
That's
You want to
pay
come
us in your
get
Bitcoin.
phone screens, Macs, whatever you need repaired?
Run me that Bitcoin.
That's fine. We can definitely do that.
We'll shoot you the public address.
Yes. That's coming too. Hey, I believe it's Unstoppable Domains. All right, we're gonna put that in the link as well. I was listening to this little tangent. Listening to the Pomp podcast. Great podcast.
It's a financial podcast.
Financial and some other
crypto.
things. But Unstoppable Domains. It's where you can basically translate your public address that you can receive cryptocurrency in. You can translate that to an actual URL, to something readable, right? Instead of this long string of numbers and letters, you can have something like mycompany.crypto, right? So check it out. What was I going to? Yes, the application you were talking about, smaller purchases. So this application, I believe it's called the Back app. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but it's BAKKT app, right? They're basically a platform that holds your digital assets, right? And more digital assets than just cryptocurrency. We're talking about gift card points, loyalty points that you have with certain companies, and you're able to translate that digital currency into USD, right, into cash. And now Starbucks has partnered with this company, and now they're allowing the Starbucks card to be reloaded with the USD that's translated through the Back app, right? So basically, if you hold any cryptocurrencies, you can translate that over to actual money in the application. Or if you have gift card reward points, you can translate that into a dollar amount. If you have loyalty points with the company, you can translate that into a dollar amount. And then companies like Starbucks, I believe there's Starbucks, and I want to say there is 2 other companies that are coming out.
PayPal,
Xbox, and I think another drink company. But right now Starbucks is the big one that's allowing all of this translation from a digital asset to USD to actually be used in commerce with the company.
For goods and services.
Yes. So this is going to set another precedent, right? If Starbucks can create a sustainable model from this, other companies are going to hop on the bandwagon.
Right? So that means we're going to transition from Bitcoin simply being a fixed asset to it also functioning as just regular currency.
Now, here in the Virgin Islands, there's not a lot of places that offer digital reward points. Not here. But the craze behind Starbucks. How many people go to Starbucks on a daily basis? How many Starbucks are in one city?
Yo, they be across the street from each other.
There's
in the States,
like 3 within 2 blocks. You know,
man.
People are going to this establishment. So if they see the benefit of being able to translate small bits of their cryptocurrency or all of their accumulated digital rewards and loyalty rewards, they're able to convert that into actual USD. This could be something that's really, really cool. And to go back to the conversation just real quick about cryptocurrency, all of you guys who don't understand digital value, right? Look up Fortnite and V-Bucks. Okay? Those that are going to do well in this space are the kids right now who are playing these digital games, who understand.
They already understand how to move in that environment.
They understand the value of a digital asset, something that you can't touch.
But
right?
It represents something of value.
Just like letters to emails. Emails hold as much value as that physical piece of mail that was sent, and maybe even more.
Okay. You ready to move on to our next article?
Yep,
It was
yep,
actually
yep.
our last article. This is the one about quantum computers. So this article is by the Washington Post, and it's quantum technology emerges from the lab to spark a mini startup boom. So Chicago has really kind of, from a national perspective, has been pushed into the front of this quantum technology evolution. A lot of money and investments, are being funneled into Chicago for startups that are pursuing businesses that are related to quantum technology. So let's talk a little bit about what quantum technology is. So the article says quantum technology seeks to harness the peculiar laws of quantum mechanics to build more powerful tools for processing information. So to put things in perspective, the theory behind computing that we've come to know it to be is that information is transferred in the form of what you would call bits and bytes. So at the very simplest, it's a 0 or it's a 1. And the computer is shooting electrical pulses to signal
or light pulses.
Or light pulses to signal 0 1 1 0, whatever the sequence is. Quantum computing, it doesn't have to be a 0 or a 1. It could be a 0 and a 1. And I know this doesn't make sense, but to wrap your mind around it, it expands the quantity of data that can be transferred at a single time. So we talk about the amount of computing power it takes to function or to make the blockchain function. With traditional, I'm calling it traditional computing, but computing as we've come to know it, it takes an immense, how many terahashes?
Right now, the Dragon Mint, I believe, is the industry standard that you can get personally. I think that's at 16 terahashes per second.
To process a blockchain
to
equation.
Process, yes, to process, yes.
So using quantum computing, we could significantly decrease the amount of effort it takes for a computer to go through these computations. So to put this in perspective, the kind of technology that is emerging from these computers is they're talking about putting these scanners on satellites that can orbit the Earth, and these computers are so powerful that the scanners would be able to penetrate a level of the Earth's crust to identify new resources or new sources rather of mineral deposits in the Earth. So not that I support pillaging the Earth any further for its resources, but just to give you an idea of the amount of power that is driving these computers. Now, there is one drawback as far as why it's been in the lab environment for so long and it hasn't kind of made that crossover into the commercial space. The computers are very sensitive to changes in temperature. So that presents a vulnerability to the system. So that's something to consider. I think once that obstacle is contained, so to speak, we're going to see quantum computing be pushed into the commercial space in a very abrupt and rapid way. So to give you a sense for the technopreneurs that are listening, there are opportunities here in the city of Chicago because they're leading the nation in this effort. Let me see where the number is here. The University of Chicago's School of Business Accelerator Program, specifically geared towards this quantum technology, is investing $20 million over the next decade to help 10 quantum startups a year. The ventures will receive $50,000 in grants, access to lab and office space, and close mentoring by science and business faculty members. So imagine the opportunities for you as a UI, UX designer, creating the software that's going to be paired with this new this is a whole new realm of computing that we're like about to step into. So for folk to put it in perspective, like when resistors were revolutionized by a black man, by the way, Otis Boykin, get to know it. Computers became immensely more affordable and efficient, and it completely revolutionized their presence in our lives. Similar to the dawn of the internet, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Like, our lives completely changed with the dawn of the internet.
The dawn of the smartphone.
The dawn of the smartphone. Like, we're looking at, this is the next big thing that's coming. So for all of the young folks out there that are listening, I want you guys to there are all of these different things going on in our society that we can start to tackle with the power of these computers. So get the wheels turning. There's a lot of opportunity for computer scientists, for business folks, and we want to encourage more people of color, under represented communities to step into this space, because women as well, like, we don't see ourselves in that space, and this is a perfect opportunity for us to take advantage of something that's like coming down the pipeline.
For sure that was awesome.
Can you tell me your thoughts of being a computer scientist, like looking at this kind of coming over the horizon? Like, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, so quantum computing has been a theory for a long time when I was a kid, right? And so to now see and actually come to
fruition,
come to fruition, something that we're able to see in my lifetime, right? Because quantum computing starts the steps to more efficient space travel, right? It starts the process of being able to utilize our resources in a much more efficient way, right? It starts the process of potential other theories of like time travel, of supercomputers are able to be their own artificial intelligence structure.
Oh yeah, AI, right? Is definitely, this is gonna push AI right over the edge.
The ability to be able to process emotion, right, takes massive computer power. So to be able to teach computers, right, how to be human. But
computers are based on human logic. So to some extent, like, this is like a snake eating its own tail. You know what I mean? And to get a sense of where the industry is as far as AI, like, there are some hospitals in China that utilize their these like silicone. They're like robots, but they have like silicone over them. The same kind of silicone they use to make like those fake babies, so it looks like real flesh. Yeah. And they basically teach the computer through what do you call it? Machine learning.
Machine learning, yes.
Like, these are questions. Like, this is how to have a conversation with somebody. This is how you respond when somebody asks you a question, or these are the expressions that you would use if you're shocked or surprised. Like, all of these different data points are being embedded in the AI, and it's like, it's crazy.
and it's when it comes to quantum computing, it's also a space thing, right? So now I believe the transistors on the circuit board of the CPU, the architecture of the CPU is now, I think it's 7 nanometers between each one, right? Which then leads to, I don't know if this is the right, but let's just say over 1 billion transistors, right, packed into one single processor or one single process architecture. That 1 billion with quantum mechanics could be turned into 100 billion.
Just inconceivable to me.
Right. So the power that a computer will have to solve a problem, right, increases exponentially. And so as we have seen, the faster computers get, the more efficient our lives become, because we don't have to wait for lag. right? When you need to send out information, when you need to update your, when you send out an email address, when you need to update your social media platforms, when you need to send money to somebody, right? You can do that all through your phone because the processor in the phone is really, really smart. It's really, really smart.
Powerful.
It's super powerful.
Smartphones these days have more RAM than like computers did when they were first being like.
I just picked up a Mac from a customer yesterday that was, I think it's a 2004 Mac. It's running on 1 gig of RAM.
That's wild.
It has a 70 gig hard drive.
And then you talk about having like a Mac Pro that has 128 gigs of RAM, like.
Right.
So imagine. Technology is increasing exponentially, so that rate of increase that's gonna come with quantum mechanics is just gonna be real dope. I'm ready for it.
Artificial intelligence and robotics is going to see a lot of success in that in the near future, so keep your eyes out for that.
Okay, well that was our last article, so are you ready to move on to our wow moments?
Wow moments. Yes.
So let's explain to people what exactly a wow moment is. So like a wow moment is when something makes you go, oh shit. That's really cool. You know, like something that makes your life easier, something that makes your different work processes, whether you like use your phone for photography, for videography, or any other creative pursuit, like things that just make that easier, more intuitive, are things that I would constitute as a wow moment. So what would you call a wow moment?
All of those things. But also wow moments are, for me, are things that that like have really impacted my life in concerning technology, right? One of the biggest wow moments that just started my whole outlook on technology as a whole was I started working for Apple as a part-time specialist. I started selling computers. It was very difficult for me trying to tell people the difference between a CPU and RAM, right? I went to school, I studied psychology, and I went to school off of a full basketball scholarship. So I didn't study computer science traditionally. But I was very good with people. So when I started working
that's
for
all
Apple,
you need to work for Apple, dog. Like
they can teach you everything else.
They'll teach you everything you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
If you could talk to people and if you could like connect, if you understand how to connect with people, like that's it.
I guess that was a small wow moment, seeing that the tech culture was so open and so inviting, right? If you have the passion for it, right? So there was a time I was working in the store. This is the Lakeside Mall store in Metairie, Louisiana, maybe about 10 minutes from New Orleans proper. And they in the back of the store, they have the Genius room, right? And so the Genius room, Genius with a G, the Genius room, right, is where all of the technicians go to work on all the products, right? They do that behind the veil, right?
That's the magical place where
right?
to be resurrected.
I walked in there one day. It was maybe like 9 o'clock. The whole room was dark, and I just saw computers everywhere with lights on them, with diagnostics running, terminal commands, and just all kinds of
like
things.
Like Santa's workshop.
Yeah, I never seen anything like it before, right? So I went and I asked my lead genius at the time, Will Cutcrow. I said, Will, what do I have to do to get back here? What
you want to get in VIP?
Yeah. Like what do I have to do to not sell computers and learn how to fix them? Right? Do I have to go back to school to do that? He was like, no, we can teach you everything here. You just have to want to learn it. And from then on, from that day, I think it was a wrap. I was maybe a part-time specialist for maybe like 4 months. I took
You made the jump to family room?
Jump to family room. They had what they call a family room specialist test. Took that, so I was certified to work on all small devices except for Mac computers.
So phones and iPads.
And software triage with PCs and iTunes and things like that. Then there was the step to Genius. Another incremental wow moment for me. Apple sent me out to training right? I did my training in Austin, Texas, in the facility. They have a campus out in Austin. They sent me out there for 3 weeks to learn how to be a technician, right? Great hotel, with full comp food. We were in class for 9 hours a day for 3 weeks, right? But the experience was awesome. It was me and I think our group was.
You created a bond with your shipmates.
yeah. It was 12 of us. I think 12 of us total, and 3 of us. It was 4 of us that all came from the same store. So it was a real awesome experience to collaborate and learn with other people that were technologists like myself, or budding technologists. But the wow moment of first walking into that Genius room and seeing the opportunity and taking advantage of the opportunity. All they needed to tell me was, this is where the information is. You just need to take the time to learn it, and that's exactly what I did. And so within 3 years, I was what they call a lead genius. Right?
You had the number 1 headband.
I was a supervisor of my own technician and training team. Right? I worked my way up to a place where I knew enough to run a Genius room and to also teach other technicians how to be techs, right? And that's something that I find so much joy in. I find so much joy in teaching other people the things that I found to be just the coolest thing in the world, right? Learning how technology works, learning how software, firmware, and hardware work together in unison, learning the stages of the operating system, learning why certain components fail. It's just real fascinating to me. And so that wow moment is what I share with a lot of people, right? Because it's very difficult. It's very difficult to find what you're truly passionate about, right? But your body will tell you, right?
You'll know.
You'll know. Don't be scared to grab hold of it, right, and take full advantage. I could have been. It was very intimidating, very, very intimidating, being around a room full of people that were 10 times smarter than me when it came to this subject. And
that's the pressure to level up, though.
Oh my God.
Ain't nothing like that pressure to level up.
And some of them were assholes. That they didn't
Smart
want.
People are assholes, though.
They didn't want to tell me nothing.
Mad arrogant, bro.
You know, but that just pushed me to be better. I wanted to be smarter than them. I wanted to be
no
that
quote,
guy.
Like intelligence, dog. Like, you ain't gonna tell me I don't know what the fuck I doing. Like, that's what you're not gonna tell me.
Yep.
You gonna just watch these hands.
And so that's my first one moment. Yeah, that's my first one. Yours?
So mine isn't necessarily like as touching and sentimental, but my first one, it makes me feel like this is a really girly wow moment. So I know all my ladies out there are gonna appreciate this one. There's a feature with, if you have an Apple Watch and you have an iPhone, let's say you're traveling and you want to take a picture, but there's nobody to take your picture, you want to get like a full body shot. You can like position your phone, like lean it up on a rock or on a sidewalk or wherever is most convenient. And there's this remote capture feature. So I can go on my watch. It kind of looks like a camera button, and it has like a little arrow pointing down. And when you click on that and it opens, I can see.
It has a little viewfinder.
It has a little viewfinder of what my camera on my phone is seeing. So if I need to, position myself within the frame, I have the opportunity to do that. And then you could do a 3-second timer or 10-second timer. So we used it a lot when we were on our honeymoon, and we just pop the phone up, take our picture. Paris don't owe us nothing. Like we took so many pictures, and this feature, I guess it is kind of sentimental because it allows you the opportunity to capture those moments. So that was mine.
Okay.
The remote capture for you need an Apple Watch and you need an iPhone.
Mine is also my next one is also with the Apple Watch. So, this was a huge one for me. the electrocardiogram ECG, right? The ECG app on the Apple Watch. This allows your watch to test you for what they call
Atrial fibrillation.
Atrial fibrillation. Say it one more time. I always say it wrong.
And now I'm thinking about how I'm saying atrial fibrillation. I
Yes.
think I might be wrong on that. It's just coming out my brain.
Okay, so basically, it scans your heart rhythm, right,
For irregularities.
Irregularities and inconsistencies. And so when I was playing basketball, guys, I played a lot of basketball, tons of basketball. But my freshman year in high school, I was having pain in my chest cavity, close to my heart. And so they took me to like this special facility, hooked all these wires up to me, made me run on this treadmill, and they were scanning my heart rhythm for irregularities, and they found a heart murmur, right? And so a lot of us are born with heart murmurs, but they're not as prominent. At that time, mine was prominent. And heart murmurs or skips or irregularities in your heart rhythm can lead to strokes, can lead to heart attacks, can lead to death. Right, so you want to keep watch of that. And so why this was so cool for me, right, is the cost. When I played basketball, I went to Baylor High School in Houston, Texas, and our entire program was sponsored by Nike. So we had some of the best
equipment and resources available to you.
Yes. And so yes, and so my mom didn't have to pay anything. Right?
You just showed up and performed.
That's all I had to do, right? But there are tons of kids that don't have that luxury. And there are tons of
most
parents.
Kids don't have that luxury. Let's be honest. Most
don't have access to affordable health care. So when a EKG needs to be done, right, it's pretty expensive. EKGs, I don't know the price of them now, but at that time were over $1,000. Right? A lot of parents don't have $1,000 just to shell out for a 15-minute test.
And now I could do it at my disposal on my Apple Watch.
I can do it anytime I need.
And with the newer Apple Watches, to add to that, there's a blood oxygen sensor. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just
the health features of the Apple Watch are why I pay so much for it, right? So a lot of people are saying, why not get more expensive? You spend $1,000 on a watch. Why don't you invest into a Rolex that's going to last longer? It may be a little more expensive. This is down the third. That's not what I care about, right? What I care about is the underlying features of the Apple Watch, right? Health is at the top of the list, right? I bought my wife an Apple Watch and my mom an Apple Watch. And I think I'm going to get my grandma an Apple Watch.
You're what they would call a promoter.
Very much so. Right, just so that they can be able to see some of these health metrics right there in front. I'm waiting for,
or even fall detection. Because if you're gonna get for your grandmother, God forbid,
my grandma just broke her hip last year.
Like, that's another thing. Like the health
in the house by herself. Right, there's some other companies that have fall detection things, but it's all integrated into the Life Alert. That's what it is. Yeah,
I can't get up.
But the Apple Watch has it integrated right into the Apple Watch itself. Right, along with the feature for being able to make calls like I'm a Spock from Gadget. Star Trek or Inspector Gadget. You know what I mean? As a kid, those things are cool for me. Right, being an adult now in 2021, wishing for these things when I was a kid. Right, being able to make a call from my wrist is cool to me. It may not be cool to the kids that grew up playing the PlayStation 4 when you were 8 years old. Right, not for the kids that grew up with Wi-Fi in the house.
Scale.
Right. Wi-Fi didn't become a thing till I was like, what? Maybe like 12, 13?
I remember when the Apple Watch first started coming out, because I was working at Apple when the Apple Watch came out, and people were like, people don't wear watches anymore? Like, why is Apple trying to make it cool to wear watches again?
They're the number one smartphone manufacturer and distributor in the world right now.
And smartwatch distributor. So,
Apple Watch. Electrocardiogram. It works great. It takes 30 seconds and it gives you a really good readout. It's
and
not
the blood oxygen sensor, because if you have like asthma, like that's the reason why I upgraded to the one that had the blood oxygen sensor, because it's like when I'm having an asthma attack in the middle of the night, and I feel like I'm about to tumbao. Like I need to make sure my oxygen level is above a certain level before I say, okay, maybe I should go to the hospital. You know.
Did you have your did you have one after that? A wow moment after that?
My next wow moment is actually something that came with iOS 14. So it's a feature called back tap. So basically, you customize this, but I tap twice on my phone, on the back of my phone, and it would mute my phone. So sometimes I'm like scrolling through Instagram and I don't realize like my phone is on loud, and some of these Instagram videos just be going off, and it's just very disruptive to the environment. So I can quickly double tap and mute my phone. There's also a triple tap, which I think I might have it set to either screenshot or it might activate Siri. But you can customize it to whatever feature you want to do.
I think mine is set to screenshot. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can set it to whatever you want to do. So if you want to customize or activate it and customize it, you would go to accessibility, touch, and then back tap is an option, and you could do your customizations from there.
Sure.
But I thought that was really cool.
Okay. My next one is the Shortcut app. The Shortcut app is really cool to me. The Shortcut app is really cool to me, and it's a wow moment and feature to me, because the Shortcut app allows you to do automation of certain functions. Excuse me. The Shortcut app allows you to do automations of certain features of your phone, and being a African American in today's society is a little difficult.
A little, just a little.
Okay, it's a lot.
Sorry, I don't want to trigger you.
Yeah, it's very difficult. But technology, right? I'm using it as a tool to help combat some of the negativity and racism that's being
inequity that's embedded in that.
Yep, and that's being exercised against people of color in American societies and societies abroad. And so one of the really cool features of the Shortcut app is the shortcut that was created called the police shortcut, right? And the police shortcut is basically I can say, hey Siri, run the police shortcut. Just want to make sure that it didn't activate. And run.
Siri gonna start recording me, right? Like, don't fuck with me, dog.
The police shortcut automatically it starts recording from the front and back camera. It contacts my
emergency contact?
my emergency contact that I list.
Does it send your location?
It sends out my location of where I'm being stopped. So if there's something that I need to use to defend myself during a police interaction, this shortcut can automatically trigger all of the things that I might need to bring, such as an audio recording, such as a video recording, my location data, and then also be able to update my emergency contact in case I'm not able to get to my phone or contact them myself, right?
In case some things get rocking.
Right? I think that's super powerful. I think that it being built in, with the Shortcut app being something that we can customize, and then a developer saw the opportunity to combine these different features and create something for this specific purpose, I think is really cool. And it was a wow moment to me because it opened up my eyes to the power of the Shortcut app. I used to play around in automation. That'll take me to my next wow moment after Sarah's. But I used to play around in automation before I started programming. When I was working for Apple. And so automation or Automator is the application run on Macs to basically do the same thing, right?
Oh, I've always seen it, but I never actually open it,
Most people don't use Automator, but it's a really cool app to, if you do certain things on your computer consistently, you can create some small streamline the experience.
The
so
workflows.
Just press one button or create your workflow, right? And that's what the Shortcut app used to be called. It used to be called the Workflow app. That was bought. There was a third-party company, and app bought it and then created shortcuts within the operating system. And on the other side of that, maybe a little more lighter topic of the shortcut is the music wrap up shortcut. I'm a huge music fan, and I like the music shortcut wrap up. It scans your music library, and it basically creates a playlist for you of your most played songs, your top rated songs, and
All the songs you want to hear.
yeah, that you did in that previous year. So just a really quick tool that does a quick scan of your library, and I think I've been using it for the past 3 years. So I have my past
It's
3 year
successful.
wrap ups. And it has some great songs in it. So something to check out. The Shortcut app has a shortcut kind of like store to where you can search for different shortcuts. So I would definitely say
So if you're in
check it
search
out.
of inspiration for shortcuts, they have some like pre-configured things that you can check out.
Mhm,
Okay, that's
mhm.
convenient.
Definitely.
So for my next one, I have control center customization and force touch expansion. So on your iPhone, if you swipe down from the top right corner of the screen, it's gonna launch what's called Control Center, and usually, this is where you find your flashlight. You have your timer. You could shortcut to the camera, or the calculator. But there are a whole lot of other things that you can add to that to really customize it for you, like screen recording, quick access to voice memos, or notes. And then the force touch piece is if you press, you can tap on your screen or you can press on the screen. That's a force touch. It expands those options. So if I force touch on Bluetooth, for example, it's going to show me all my Bluetooth devices and then, nearby Bluetooth devices. Same for Wi-Fi. If I force touch on Wi-Fi, I can see all of the networks that are available. Force touch on flashlight, you can use your flashlight on, it's not just on and off, you have different levels of brightness that you can use. So if you force touch on any of those icons, there are a whole host of other customization options that apply to that specific feature that you're clicking on. So that piece was my next wow feature because it working for a Department of Education, I did a lot of I had to interview people, take pictures. So I would be using the Notes app, recording on voice memos, and having that quickly at my disposal made that encounter of having to interview people and those customer encounters, so to speak, a lot more streamlined and efficient.
For sure. Okay. My last wow moment. I got two, but I'll talk about both of them real quick. So my second to last one is the home court basketball app, right? So like I said, I full basketball scholarship playing basketball. So I spent a lot of time in the gym. And one of the things that we were always trying to perfect was a jump shot, right? Keeping your elbow in, right?
That
Making
form,
sure
get that form together.
making sure that the index finger, right, is the last finger that leaves the ball, making sure your wrist breaks at a certain point, right? And so you were getting all these cues from your coaches, but you couldn't really see it unless you had a camera set up
because you are yourself.
Yeah.
You don't get that perspective.
And camera setups back then were very, very expensive, right?
Put
you
your
had to
camcorder
purchase
on the tripod.
Yeah, you had to purchase those type of things. It was crazy. Now with the iPhone and smartphones, right? But this application was built for the iPhone because it's the better smartphone. It was built for the iPhone, and it's a digital trainer. So you can do one of the workouts in the home court app, and it will track your body movements. It will tell you how high you're jumping off the ground. It'll tell you if your form is off or if it's improving. It takes you through
the arc of the ball. It tracks the arc of the ball, and it counts misses, makes.
So you can get real-time metrics from your basketball workouts right from just setting up your iPhone and opening up the application. It's this application was made in partnership with Steve Nash, NBA champion and NBA player. I just think it's really cool for people who are basketball players. I know that they're trying to come out with platforms for other sports. I know that there may be some other third-party companies out there with some similar products, but this is the best one that I've seen that is utilized.
What is the name of the app?
It's called Home Court.
Home Court?
Basketball app.
Okay.
And it pairs with your Apple Watch again, right?
So you're collecting heart rate information as well, calories.
And it's more like a video game, right? Playing a video game than actual training, right? Because you're able to see
it fun.
It makes it real fun. So there's dribbling drills that you put your front-facing camera in front of you, and you can see the screen, and it tracks how you're moving the ball from side to side. It'll track how many bounces and how high you're bringing up the ball, right? All of those small metrics are what make a good player a great player, right? And so to have that power inside of the iPhone through an application was a huge wow moment for me. This came out, I think, last, or maybe a year and a half ago, almost two years now. I talked to my kids, my students about it, and now some of them are using it in their basketball workouts. So if you're a basketball player, Home Court app is awesome. It's really awesome if you have an Apple Watch, but it's free with in-app purchases. I'd say definitely check it out if you're trying to improve your game. Not an ad, but I just really like the application. My last thing is the iCloud sync, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But
iCloud is another thing that baffle people. Where is it? What is it?
Right. So I was working for Apple when iCloud was in its infancy, right? When it was called Mobile Me Sync.
That doesn't sound sexy.
Yeah, it was called Mobile Me Sync, right? And so Mobile Me was atrocious. It was atrocious. There were duplicate contacts everywhere, duplicated pictures, lost pictures, duplicated calendar dates. It was crazy. It was the idea was awesome. It just had to get the bugs
rollout
worked out.
just wasn't there.
It just had to. We spent so much time trying to recreate calendar dates and restructure photo libraries because there was 10 different copies of one picture times 1,000 pictures, right?
Oh damn! So duplicating was an issue.
It was a huge issue, right? But now that was Mobile Me. That was 2009, 2010. So 10 years later, we see iCloud, and we see the power of iCloud, right? iCloud is basically just a computer that stores all of your information that you can access through the internet, right? The cloud is a physical place. It's not just
a server somewhere that houses. It's not imaginary.
Just sitting up in the
atmosphere.
Space. No, it's not sitting on a satellite that's floating by the moon. No, it's it is sitting in a huge facility, and there's one computer server rack that is labeled with you and probably 1 million other people in that one computer. And when you want to access your information, we send it through all those satellites, but it eventually goes back to that computer, and we access that information back to your phone, right? So Mobile Me didn't do that in the best way. But now with iCloud, we now see...
And files, because files is built on the iCloud, you know.
Right. The stability of iCloud led to the Files app, and for iPhone users,
iPad.
you know, and iPod, but for iPhone users, we know that we haven't had a Files app, or that was one feature that we've been craving for a very long time. So when it came out, it was awesome. But that Files app couldn't have come out the way that it did if they didn't fix the issues with Mobile Me beforehand, right? Because then now you're talking about duplicate Excel spreadsheets and all these other things, right? So iCloud now is able now to save all your messages and encrypt your messages. They now have the back to my mic, let's just continue. There's the Find My to find your devices. And so the WWDC is this June. The WWDC is the Worldwide Developer Conference that Apple holds every year. And we've been waiting for AirTags, right? AirTags are little circles, little tags that you pair with your precious items that you can see in a list in your iCloud settings.
Wasn't there I feel like we used to sell this in the Apple Store in Metairie too. It was something you could like put on your backpack. It was like a tag.
It was called Tile, I believe.
Tile.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
So
it's
Apple's
kind of like Tile.
It's basically
Apple's version of
thing.
Tile.
It's Apple's version of Tile. Yes.
Okay.
But it will be integrated with iCloud, right? iCloud also handles now your activation, to where iCloud is safeguarding your information if your phone gets stolen. So if somebody steals your phone and tries to access it by restoring it, they cannot use it themselves because they need to know that email address and password that is on your phone. It's very, 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 very difficult to bypass that without Apple's help. Okay, iCloud is a great service. I stress to all my customers that they should use it.
To back up their data.
If you want a physical backup, you can still do a physical sync to iTunes through your computer, but iCloud safeguards all your information. Frequently. Right?
Whenever, if you have it set to automatic, as long as your phone is charging and hooked up to Wi-Fi, it's backing up.
Backing up your entire phone, and we know that some of you guys have over 200 gigs of pictures.
Oh yeah.
I've seen it. So please buy iCloud storage space.
Protect your stuff.
Use iCloud and protect your stuff. That's my last one.
Okay, my last wow moment is sharing audio with AirPods. So we've all been in the situation where you're watching a funny video and you want to share your giggles, with your friend, but you don't want their funky airwax on your headphone. Just me? Okay.
No.
So, share audio with AirPods solves this entire dilemma because it allows you to basically split the audio between your AirPods and your friend's AirPods. So you don't have to give them, go with the one ear and give them one of your AirPods and have to deal with their air funk. So you could protect your airwax. I just want my air funk on my AirPods. Like, I don't want it cohabitating with.
I can't tell you how many people I see with the communal AirPod.
Yeah, they're always trying to share the AirPod. I'm like, nah, I don't want your crusty AirPod in my ear. Like, unplug it and put it on loud, but you don't always want, what you're watching to be on speaker.
Yeah.
So this feature is super dope because it takes advantage of the technology and creates a communal environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically, when you're wearing AirPods, like, it's just a you experience, but it allows you to share something cool with somebody else. So I like it for that.
And you can activate that in Control Center through the
Control
Force Touch.
Center, Force Touch on your headphones, or it would be the speaker icon, and then you have share audio as an option.
Gotcha. Cool.
That's my last one, though.
Perfect. So we're going to be sharing these wild moments with you guys periodically as we come by them. So be looking out for them. I think that's all we got for our list. Did you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
No, that's all, folks.
No. Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for listening. This is our 4th episode, right? We're not professionals. We're not professional podcasters.
We're just tech enthusiasts.
Yeah, I'm just a guy
sharing the wisdom.
Who loves technology, who more specifically loves Apple technology. And I just use this as a medium to talk to you guys and share some of the information that I have. I have a lot of conversations with Sarah off camera. I have a lot of conversations with myself in my head, right? So I just think that podcasting is a really cool way of sharing these conversations.
Bring everybody in on our conversation.
Yeah, so if you guys have any feedback, please feel free to drop us a comment. You can send us an email at Joshua the Jenius. That's Genius with the J. At gmail.com. If you're here locally, you can always stop here by the store. We're located we're located right here in the heart of Main Street, right across from Stonehouse Cafe, right above Valentine's Jewelers. Our next door neighbor is Chico Jewelry Repair. If you need to call us, 340-227-3821. We're here in the store Monday to Friday from 9 to 5, and on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 5. So again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.